Hi, I'm Ron Matakevich, former Assistant Scoutmaster with Troop 153 in Westchester and a Radio Merit Badge counselor. I'd like to welcome you to the Radio Merit Badge. Let's have some real fun with this and let's get started. Let me share my screen. And let's begin by doing an official proclamation. Be it known to all present that a special event 1x1 radio station call sign has been granted by the FCC for the 2 weekends of our Radio Merit Badge. All on-the-air operations may proudly be identified by the special event call sign Whiskey 3 Golf. This special event call sign commemorates the very first time our group is presenting the Radio Merit Badge to members of Troop 19, a premier all-girl unit in Chester County Council. And we are grateful and thankful for the opportunity to present to these scouts this badge and the related science and technology it comprises. More on call signs later on. So who are we? We are a group of amateur radio operators dedicated to bringing electronics, electricity, STEM topics, and amateur radio to the general public, but we concentrate primarily on youth. And right now we're working primarily in scouting. I'm joined by Mr. John Callahan, K3JDR, Mr. Tom Costello, KC3TMT, and Mr. Wayne Hunter, KC3SQI. We will be your presenters and counselors for the 2 weekends in your Radio Merit Badge. So let's get started. Start a radio journey with something we know very, very, very well. I want to pose this question to you. What is the most basic function of any cell phone? If you deleted all of the apps, what does a cell phone still do? So what's the answer? Well, it's a personal two-way radio, and you probably never thought of it that way. But it's configured as a phone. Everybody today, just about everybody, carries around these two-way radios disguised as cell phones. But they do a lot more. We can order pizza, we can surf the web, get directions, send selfies and photos, watch movies, download programs, run apps, do everything. But the thing to think about is every time we're doing these things, we are exchanging information and data between our cell phone and our service provider's closest cell tower. That exchange of information and data over the air without wires uses this basic functionality of our phone, and that's radio. Your phone is a two-way radio. When we're using our phone, we don't even think about this. So, for example, we're all familiar with these social media platforms, or at least some of them, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, and so on. Every time we run one of these programs, or we chat or talk, we're sending data, digital data, back and forth between our cell phone and our provider. We're doing this over radio. But phones may seem like they're the only thing out there that uses radio, but there are thousands more applications and uses of radio. Wireless phones or Bluetooth or Apple AirPods, GPS, dish TV, radar, all these things are radio. So radio's everywhere. It's all around us, and it's used in the vast majority of things we encounter and use and operate every day. There's never been a time in all of mankind or modern technology where the vast majority of people routinely use radio in numerous ways and don't even think about it. So what is this radio thing? What is radio? What does it do? It's the use of electrical AC alternating current waves. We call them radio waves to send and receive information, to electronically communicate without wires or physical connections. This is the real meaning of wireless. So to do this, we need something that's going to generate the waves and put them out over the air. That's called a transmitter. We also need something to receive the waves, extract the information off the wave, and play or display it in a form that we can understand. That's called a receiver. Your phone has both. It has a transmitter and it has a receiver in it. Never knew that, right? Well, you do now. This is the fun part of it. Radio waves exist everywhere, from across the room to deep outer space. So we use radio to communicate, entertain, inform, control things, even especially to help each other when everything else fails. We're still communicating. Radio is used in broadcasting, wireless, LANs, hotspots, Easy Pass, 911, fire police, aviation, dish TV, radar. We mentioned some of these things already. Cordless phones, anywhere electronic communication is conducted without wires. More officially, these are some of the official names of the services that use radio. We'll just pick a couple of these here. First of all, aeronautical mobile. This is, of course, aviation, airliners, private general aviation, and so on. Amateur radio, we're going to really delve into this quite a bit. Amateur satellites. We did some of this at JOTA. We worked through the International Space Station down at right out in front of headquarters down there. We already know about broadcasting, AM and FM broadcasting. Jumping over here, we've got satellites. This is how you get the your GPS, how you get TVs off of Dish Network and so on and so forth. You get weather radar off of meteorological aids. And over here, you've got standard frequency and time signals, which we'll explore later on. These are for atomic clocks. Driving down the road, you see all kinds of evidence of radar, and most of us have never paid attention to these signs. Go down the road, you see these big red and white towers or AM broadcast stations, for one thing. In Philadelphia, there's a whole field or farm, antenna farm, we like to call it, of really tall transmitting antennas that transmit TV, AM, and FM radio, such as Channel 10, Channel 3, some of the FM stations, and so on, Channel 6. Down in Delaware, this is an FM broadcast station tower right over the Delaware state line. This is WJBR. There are also TV stations out there all over the place that transmit TV. And this is a typical TV station control room. And this signal from here gets fed into a huge transmitter. It could be 1,000,000 watts, and that signal then gets broadcast using batwing antennas like this. Closer to home, in your neighborhood, you may have seen these small cylinders pop up on top of utility poles in your neighborhood. These are the brand new 5G wireless service antennas out there. And these are all are just popping up all over the place because 5G requires very localized antennas in order to work well. Also, you may notice in some cases on high hills or mountains, there are towers that have these things called microwave dishes on them. They look like dish TV satellite dishes, and those are used for communicating between cities. A lot of these now are being replaced by fiber optic links. Go down to the river or by ports and so on, or look out in the ocean, and you'll see ships out here that have these things that look like big white sticks. These are actually antennas. This is maritime VHF communications. And this right here, this is a cell tower with cell antennas on it. These flat, vertical, rectangular arrangements are the antennas that you are actually, your phone is connecting to by radio whenever you do your apps, your texting, you're sending selfies, and so on and so forth. This is a cell tower. Generally speaking, each layer of antennas in here represents antennas for a different carrier. This might be AT&T, this might be Verizon, this might be Sprint, T-Mobile, so on and so forth. So this is what you're talking to when you're actually using your cell phone. If you ever took a plane ride out of Philadelphia, for instance, to Disney World, the pilot in the airliner is talking to the Philadelphia Airport Control Tower using aviation frequencies. And in the control tower, there are several, this is the top of the cab up here. There are several operators all using different frequencies for the different positions that the airliners are on the airport tarmac and approaching and departing the airport runways. There's also communication between other towers and the jets on the ground. And also down at the base of this tower, there is what's called TRACON, or approaching control. These operators down here, these air traffic controllers, are using both radio and radar. Closer to home, hopefully you'll never have to use this service, but if you have to, dial 911. This is where you're connected to. You connected to the basement of the government services building, and this is the 911 call center down there. And next to the 911 call center is an amateur radio station called W3EOC that the county has built that is used to supplement the 911 and emergency communications whenever there is a disaster or there is an emergency. We amateur radio operators swing into action and assist the county with digital communications. When you have time, I would really invite you to take a look at some of these links here and listen to what these various radio communications actually sound like. This is air traffic control at Philadelphia. These are some 911 frequencies, and this is a ham radio frequency here. This is our repeater in Parksburg. Particularly listen at 8 o'clock on Monday nights and 8:30 on Thursday nights. Most of the rest of the time, it's pretty quiet. But during those two times, it's very busy because we have nets where a whole bunch of amateur radio operators get on and exchange technical information or just talk socially. For shortwave, this is a great site here. This is up in the Pocono Mountains. There's a receiver up there, but they broadcast on the web. This is how you can actually listen to amateur radio long distance without having to spend any money for a radio. These are all available out there on the web. They're all public access. Three of the favorite links that I have that I really want to point out here are links that show and play actual contacts with the International Space Station. One of these links, I'm not sure which one it is, but one of these links is a school in Delaware that just did the link with the International Space Station. Okay, broadcast radio, there's two kinds. There's broadcast radio and one-way communications. Broadcast radio is radio that is unidirectional. It sends information to many people at the same time. It's generally commercial or it's public information. This is talk radio, music, television, shortwave, weather radio. We'll explore that a little bit more later on also. And also FM, AM, and so on. So to do this, you basically have a transmitter at one end and a receiver at the other. The AM and FM radios that we have do not transmit, they only receive. So in broadcast radio, you can only receive, you can't talk back on radio to the station that's sending the broadcast information. Service or hobby radio is the other type of radio that's used, and it's used by people who engage in activities where we're providing a service, we're helping someone, we're entertaining ourselves, we're doing non-commercial, social, or most importantly, sometimes emergency communications. Examples are amateur radio, where we talk locally and at great distances. It's all non-commercial. There's no music. There's no business conducted. And at times we engage in emergency communications. For instance, the recent hurricane in hurricanes down in the Gulf area and Florida and so on, and also the earthquake in Turkey, where all normal communications are knocked out. Amateur radio operators assist in getting help to the people who need it. We used service or hobby radio to control models, model airplanes, and so on. We track weather balloons. We use a family radio service and what's called GMRS. For example, when we're camping or we just want to talk like car to car or something, there's no license required for that. Robotics, and of course, most importantly, aircraft, police, fire, and medical. So that concludes our first couple requirements of 1A and 1B. And the next requirements are 1C and 1D. And again, I want to welcome you to the Radio Merit Badge.